Ladies and gentlemen, the British Parliament abolished the blasphemy law in 2008. And one of the reasons why the British Parliament removed the blasphemy law is because of, again, liberals removing the Christian vestiges of our country. In 2005, the Jerry Springer Opera went on tour around the UK, and a Christian group called the Christian Voice used the blasphemy law to derail that tour, to shut it down. And the Jerry Springer Opera lost 30% of the theatres that were going to broadcast and put up the Jerry Springer Opera because of that threat of prosecution. Blasphemy and the idea of blasphemy laws are about defending what is sacred. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Liberals got rid of that in 2008 because they said that it was illiberal. But what we have seen this very week, ladies and gentlemen, is that a British MP, the Labour MP, Tahir Ali urged Sir Keir Starmer to introduce measures that would make it illegal to criticize, ladies and gentlemen, the Abrahamic faiths. Now, what is interesting is that Sir Keir Starmer didn't say no. Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party have the hand of Islamists upon their shoulders, and they are open to persuasion by those that want to push an Islamist agenda because they are scared of losing the Muslim vote. Tahir Ali asked that the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran, be made illegal. But yet, ladies and gentlemen, Sir Keir Starmer was quite all right with artists desecrating the Bible whilst he was Crown Prosecutor, even before 2008. And that demonstrates the hypocrisy of Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. Are you all right, bro?
Yes.
Good.
Well done.
He was harassing you, we all saw it.
He was harassing.
Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Kicked out today, bro.
Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
The fact that Sir Keir Starmer, when he was Chief of Crown Prosecution, was okay with people desecrating Bibles, even though it was blasphemous. But now he suddenly quivers and he's open to the suggestion of introducing a new blasphemy law, should tell us all what grip the Labour Party is in when it comes to Islamists in the Labour Party. Now, they are desperately pandering to Islam because of the vote, the Muslim vote, which tells us the need to create a Christian vote in this country. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, Islamophobia, which is another law that the Labour Party is thinking to pass, will mean that criticism of Islam could be made illegal in this country. That creates a two-tier legal system that protects Islam from criticism rather than Christianity or Hinduism or Sikhism or Judaism, ladies and gentlemen. Islamophobia was a term created by Islamists in Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood to suppress criticism of Islam politically, to wrap it up as a language of prejudice, so that gullible liberals would see criticism of Islam as some form of racism. We need to call out the origins of Islamophobia, and that demonstrates the importance of knowing your history. The term Islamophobia is an Islamist term to suppress legitimate criticism of Islam. And laws already exist to protect Muslims as a group, same as they should exist to protect all of us as a group. In other words, you can't victimize Muslims for being Muslims, because victimization is a crime, but it is one that applies for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's be clear. Christophobia is a blind spot in the ideology and the thinking of the liberal elites. Christophobia has resulted in this country of Christians having to flee entire cities. Christophobia has resulted in internally displaced people inside the United Kingdom, whose only crime was that they converted from Islam to Christianity. Think of Nisar Hussain. Think of one of the brothers here in the park, a convert from Islam who had to flee his home city because of harassment. And the liberal elites, guys, take a conversation that way, please. Christophobia, ladies and gentlemen, is never talked about by the liberal elites. It's not even a word they use. And the result is that Christian victimization is occurring in this country unchallenged. Thousands of churches in France are desecrated and attacked because of Christophobia. Churches in Canada are being burned because of Christophobia. There have been examples captured on video of Muslims going into churches in Greece and disrupting church services because of Christophobia. When are we going to tackle the Christophobia inside the Muslim community? Tahir Ali wants a blasphemy law that involves stopping the desecration of the Quran. He wants it because in Pakistan they have a law like it. But let me point out to you the danger of such a law. This law will be used to victimize non-Muslims. I'll give you an example. Reading from Amnesty International. Audrey Gorgren of Amnesty International, who is its international director of global issues, points out this. Once an accusation of blasphemy is made, the police can arrest the accused without even checking to see if the charges make sense. Bowing to public pressure from angry crowds, including religious clerics and their supporters, they frequently pass cases on to prosecutors without scrutinizing the evidence. And once someone is charged, they can be denied bail and face lengthy and unfair trials. Ladies and gentlemen, who remembers that boy and his mother who dropped a Quran in the north of England? The police took him to a mosque with his mother to be berated by the Muslim community, to give a public apology. No court trials, no nothing. It has already started in this country that the police act extrajudiciary in imposing Islamic sensitivities upon the nation. And that's before a law has been passed. Who remembers the teacher in Batley and Spen who is in hiding? In hiding, ladies and gentlemen, because he showed images when he was teaching about blasphemy in a classroom to teach children about what blasphemy was. And the police and the state and the Labour Party and all the trade unions turned a blind eye, and that poor man is still in fear of his life. It's already started and we haven't even passed such a law.
Scary.
Amnesty International's report shows how Pakistan's blasphemy laws enable abuse and violate the country's international legal obligations to respect and protect a range of human rights, including freedom of religion or of belief and of opinion and of expression. The report details how the laws have been used to target some of the most vulnerable people in society, including children, individuals with mental disabilities, members of religious minorities. That's the Christians who are often accused of blasphemy, often abused of blasphemy and persecuted, ladies and gentlemen.
Carry on, Bob.
And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, just pointing it out triggers the Islamists. It triggers them because they want this kind of persecution of Christians. Their attitudes that you see on display right now, ladies and gentlemen, is how Christian minorities will be treated if we allow them to win. And that is why we must oppose these Islamist dogs, and we must oppose their Sharia law, and we must oppose anyone like Tahir Ali who wants to move us in the direction of it. I go on, ladies and gentlemen. Christians in Pakistan are treated as second-class citizens in the Pakistani state. They live in ghettos. They are subject to anti-Christian pogroms. Their churches are regularly attacked. They are denied access to well-paid jobs. They are called in Pakistan road sweepers because those are the only jobs that they're allowed because they're Christians. Attitudes state things like Christians have separate cups to drink from communal wells than Muslims. And if a Christian drinks from a Muslim cup, it results in anti-Christian pogroms and attacks. Christians are regularly abused in Pakistan. And where are our liberal elites? Where's the Labour Party and the liberal media? They're too busy lecturing you on that myth called Islamophobia. They're silent about how Christians in Pakistan are suffering. And that's why you must break the silence of the liberals like a battering ram. You must force the Gary Linekers of this world to be confronted with the persecuted church. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be clear. I am not a liberal. I don't support the idea of blasphemy. I don't support the idea of free speech that allows blasphemy. And the reason why I don't is because when you attack the root of your civilization, the things upon which your civilization is built, and you attack them, ladies and gentlemen, you undermine the very values and doctrines that your society is built on. The liberals mocked and attacked Jesus. They diminished him in our culture, and now our culture has moved away from Christianity, and look what a mess we now find ourselves in. And so as a Christian, I want to be clear. I want a blasphemy law. But Islam is not the religion of truth, and therefore should receive no protection in law. I don't believe in a multicultural state. I believe in a Christian state. But, ladies and gentlemen, the blasphemy law that I would want to see is one in which those institutions that receive public money and public space is guarded by the blasphemy law. But if you are in private space, or you run a private institution, you should be free to say what you want. Because the state pays for you, its blasphemy law should only apply in those spheres. If you're not dependent upon the state for your wage, or for your income, or where you're standing, you should be free to say whatever you want. And that is where I believe as Christians we should be pushing. And Christians, if this law passes, we should be using lawfare to use this law to fill up the courts against those that blaspheme the Christian faith. If a Muslim desecrates the Bible or a liberal desecrates the Bible, then we should push for them to be prosecuted. If we had done so in the past, if we had prosecuted vehemently in the past, maybe the West would not have rotted in the way that it has. But because we allowed things like the life of Brian, we undermined our own Christian doctrines. And when we undermined our own Christian doctrines, we undermined our Christian values. And because we undermined our Christian values, we are now in this rotten liberal society we find ourselves. So reject liberalism, embrace Christianity, and stop to hear Ali and others passing an Islamic blasphemy law. Any questions?
Well done. Well done, Bob.
Any questions on the topic?
How do you think Christians should react to cultural liberalism, like in cinema, arts, and
Yes. Here's an example. This Friday, there's a theatre in London that is going to put on a blasphemous production of Handel's Messiah. I think it's called Queer Messiah. And they are portraying our Lord as gay. We Christians in the protest group called the Disciples of Christ will be protesting that theatre. I invite all the Christians of London and who can get there to be outside that theatre to protest that blasphemy. How? This Friday from 6 o'clock. And ladies and gentlemen, the way that we should respond to cultural blasphemy is to oppose it vigorously and as fully as we can, and use whatever laws we can to oppose blasphemy. We should use lawfare against the blasphemers. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
So you've got correct what you're saying. But the trouble is, it's so anti-Christian, this society. Violence on the TV, swearing, sex on the TV. All this is all against Christian values. So how do we attack that? Or prevent that?
Great.
There's a lot more than just that.
Great question. We have to separate in our minds two things. Stuff that is against the kingdom of God, like what you've described, and stuff that is against Christians per se. The blasphemy, this play is against Christians per se. The persecution of Christians who converted from Islam in this country that occurs is against Christians per se. Our first concern as Christians must be to fight the battles for our rights on those issues, so that a Christian can observe Sunday observance if he wants to in his workplace. We need to fight these battles that are about us as Christians first and foremost. When we have won those battles, then we can go on to the kingdom issues that you're talking about. But currently, we need to concern ourselves with defending the rights of the Christian population. And when we do, and as we do, we must address these cultural kingdom issues through evangelism and through witness and through producing a counterculture and through opposition by the cultural opposition. So for instance, I'll give you an example. When I used to work in secular work, when people used to say the name of our Lord like a swear word, I would immediately say, is God. They would say Jesus Christ, and I would go, is God. Or they would say Jesus Christ, and I would say, is risen. Or they would say Jesus Christ, and I would say, is Lord. And it would throw them. It would make them go back like that. Some of them would ask me why, and I would explain, and they'd apologize for using the name of my Lord as a swear word. Others got so irritated by it, they stopped doing it in my presence. So use your imagination. Find ways to erode the liberal culture. Next question, ladies and gentlemen.
The details of the protest are in Disciples of Christ.
Yes, the Disciples of Christ is what you need to look for on Twitter. I think they are Jesus Saves, at Jesus Saves. I'm not sure, but look for the Disciples of Christ and you get the details of the protest this Friday. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen, on the topic?